ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to yet another episode of an Evolved Review. I am your host, James Caleb Kitchens, and I am joined each and every week by none other than straight from the SWN. Welcome back, Caleb Stovall.
What's going on, man? I am excited. I am excited about this one, man.
You know, we had our episode come out last week where we just kind of randomly just talked about whatever. It still ended up being a lot about wrestling. Haven't really got the numbers on that yet as far as like the reception goes because it didn't actually get put out until just a few days ago because I had to fight the stupid copyright violations, which we knew was going to happen. But we got past all that. The video's up on YouTube. It's on the audio platforms. It's on Facebook. So, I mean, I knew we wouldn't have any problem with the audio platforms, but I really enjoyed that episode. And then today, this is a monumentous occasion. This is a special thing that's happening here, and I don't know if you 100% know why. We talked about it a little bit last week, but this is the first time you and I have ever reviewed a episode of like the weekly television shows. We have never done NXT. We have never done Raw. We have never done Dynamite. We've never done SmackDown. None of it. I mean, I guess if you count the Ring of Honor stuff, but that was the pure tournament.
And maybe if you count like the Halloween Havoc.
But that was that. I mean, that's technically a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
We have never done one of the weekly television episodes, and so I think that speaks for itself to an extent. That tonight that we wanted to do this one, but there's a couple of combinations here for why we do this. Number one, it definitely brought in an element of Dark Side of the Ring, because if that Nick Gage episode had not been a thing, then there's no way that main event would have happened tonight.
No.
Or tonight. It wasn't tonight. It was last night, but whatever.
Yeah.
On this episode. There's no way that would have taken place. So that's a big part of it. I think it being in Charlotte has a lot of hype behind it. There's just a lot, man. This episode, it feels big. It feels like that episode in Atlanta felt at the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically this was a special, I mean, this was Dynamite, but it was Fight for the Fallen.
Exactly.
And I will say this, dude, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this one as many times as you have traveled to North Carolina for like PWX and other wrestling shows and stuff like that. Like, anytime you have a wrestling show in North Carolina, it's going to be good.
Yeah, sure, man. We can go with that. Listen, I fucking hate this. I fucking hate the city of Charlotte with a divine passion, and I am going to try my best to not mention that at all tonight. But I definitely think that this is.
No, you just did.
I did, but like I said, I'm going to try to limit that. I'm going to try to limit my hatred and fury towards that city. But I will say that this is like the best wrestling show that's taken place there in a long time. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. And we're going to talk about it right here. So why don't we just get into it, man? We'll go top to bottom. We'll go top to bottom. So I thought it was interesting that they chose to open this with the 10-man elimination. I'm glad it didn't go at the end, because I think had the Nick Gage match not been a thing, that it would have not that it would have been the main event, more than likely.
Yeah. I was taken aback a little bit with the whole Toon Squad entrance kind of thing.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm the guy that brings up negative shit about everything, especially AEW. But I'm so glad that you brought that
up. Well, I just mentioned it, but I can't wait to hear this.
No, it's just okay. All right. Okay. So I've never been a fan of the Dark Order, but I'm telling you, the way that they've built that storyline with Adam Page has worked. And the way that they did the introduction, the little intro video.
I love that video.
It was fantastic. And then the actual entrance with the spotlights coming on, and then Paige coming through the middle. That like, I mean, the hair on my arm was standing up.
How big was that pop?
It was incredible, and that was such a good entrance. You know, I'm all for the theatricality.
Oh yeah,
I love a good entrance, man.
yes,
I'll go through and watch Starcade '97 just for the Sting entrance,
of course.
because it's one
One
of
of
the
the
best
greatest
entrances,
entrants in the history of wrestling.
right? If not the greatest, it's definitely one of the greatest.
Yes.
And this one, man, I mean, I will remember this. Like, I will remember that entrance. And we talk a lot about making moments in wrestling, and that's like the hardest thing to do is to make a moment, because you can plan for it only to a certain extent. All the right ingredients have to just be there, and some of that is a little bit of luck, and it's execution. So you can plan a little bit for it, but you can't plan for all of it. And of course, they went over this entrance with the production team, but the way that it was executed and pulled off, and the talent involved, it was great, man. And Adam Page and the Dark Order, over. I mean, just over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Adam Page is over in general.
Yeah,
And dude, it just like again when that spotlight popped up and he walked out, I heard that pop and I went, oh my god, like
I
that was
love the
huge.
pop where you can tell that it exceeds the gain of the audio on the damn microphones on the cameras.
Yep.
Like, you can tell that it just caps out the audio.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know what? This show it speaks to kind of how big it felt when even like in the intro, JR, like that was like the biggest I've heard him on Dynamite open up the show. Like he was just like, it's Wednesday night. And you know what that like he like legit sounded excited and stuff like that. It just everything felt big, like you said.
JR did a great job, actually, I thought, on this. As a matter of fact, I thought that all of the guys on the commentary, for the most part, were firing on all cylinders all night.
I did
Um,
too.
and now, of course, I'm not counting Don Callis, because fuck him.
You don't like Don Callis whatsoever, do you?
Don Callis, during this match, said, and we'll get back to the entrance, but he said, and I quote, that Kenny Omega was the Michael Jordan of pro wrestling.
Well, yeah, he's his manager. He's supposed to say stuff like that.
I understand that. I am a manager. I get it. But, like, Kenny Omega is not even the Michael Jordan of baseball of professional wrestling. Like,
that was great.
he's like not even he's like the Isaiah Thomas of professional wrestling at best. Uh, anyway,
Man.
so here's the thing. Okay, all right. So back to the entrances.
Okay.
You brought it up. So we have Adam Page and the Dark Order come out. Amazing entrance.
Yeah.
And then we have Kenny Omega and the Elite come out. And they're like getting booed, right? Like the crowd initially booed them when they came out because they're the heels.
Yeah.
And then they came out to like the Space Jam nonsense. And like, okay, I would get it if like Space Jam was like a sponsor for the show, but they weren't. Like,
No. They mentioned them on HBO Max.
who did?
They mentioned it during the show. They said now available on HBO Max, Space Jam Legacy.
Okay, well that is a little more comforting then. The version I have didn't have the commercials in it, so I didn't see that. But I didn't notice the announce team plugging it, so that was weird. But I'm with you though that I thought this entrance was odd. It they immediately they played the music from from the original, which I'm guessing it's in the second one too. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
I'll watch a second Space Jam when they get the greatest basketball star of all time to do another one, and they haven't done that. So yeah, I just thought it came off as odd, and then also Matt Jackson can't dribble to save his life. We found that out. That whole thing, man, it was just odd. I feel like them being the elite squad just I don't know. I think it set a weird tone for the whole match.
Yeah, I kind of did too. I thought that they should have just been straight heels, because clearly the crowd wants to boo them.
Right.
Um, and yeah, like normally you do that if the team is a babyface team. Now they might. What I kind of took away from it though was that they just want to make a mockery now of everything, and they're heels.
Right.
So they don't care what anyone says. They're like, okay, hate us, fine. That's what you're supposed to do. You know, that's why
True.
I'm just like, yeah, I love, like, it's great that you hate Kenny Omega because you're kind of supposed to.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, man. I like the actual work from the Young Bucks during the match.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna say this: the match was too long, but
I knew
I
you were
mean,
gonna say that when I was watching it. I was like, yeah, I can definitely see that. But I mean, but here was the thing: the crowd was involved the whole way.
they were. But I mean, then again, you've got the world champion, the tag team champions, and the number one contender in this match. I mean, if it was over and it was a little long, but I didn't mind it. It was just like you guys could have easily shaved 5 minutes off of this to the same effect.
Yeah.
But one thing I really loved about this whole episode of Dynamite is that this was by far the longest match, dude. This After this match ended, this whole episode is paced like I would even you've never heard me say this about AEW. I think after this match, the rest of the show was paced perfectly.
I was wondering what you were gonna say about that because like me and Blake were talking about this earlier. Um, I thought like we thought that the whole show flowed so good.
It did. And I'm very big on I mean, obviously, I do this at an indie level. These guys, I mean, this is on a different level. But to me, because it's one of the things that I nitpick and that I'm very specific about, and I think it's very important to the presentation of the show, is it needs to flow smooth. You need to go from this segment to that segment to this segment to that segment, and it needs to be smooth.
Yes.
It's the difference between somebody being in the ring and like a video playing on the screen, and then you go back to the ring and that person's still there, and then you have to wait for them to leave. To the person's in the ring, a video plays, and then when the video's done, that person's gone. The ring announcer's there, and they're ready to set up the next thing.
Yeah.
You don't create those dead spaces. You have to eliminate that. And this show, I mean, it was like, here's a match. The match is 8 to 10 minutes, and then we go backstage for a segment, and then something happens, and then it's right on to the next match. And I really thought that they killed it. Because I mean, check out these match times. Okay, the opening match is almost 26 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, match 2, 8 minutes. Match 3, 8 minutes. Match 4, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Match 5, 4 minutes. Match 6, 13 minutes, and that's your main event. Now,
Yeah.
granted, it's a 10-man elimination match. It shouldn't be less than 17 minutes. I mean, it really shouldn't. I mean, I think maybe 15 means that you just bam, bam, bam eliminated everybody and then got down to the last two.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah. What'd you
yeah.
think of the basketball spot in the match?
I, do you mean when either when one of the Jacksons made the hoop and they shot it through? Is that what you meant?
Well, the when they did the Meltzer driver
Oh yeah. And,
with the basketball.
it was it was
Yeah.
yeah it was
Well,
yeah.
well,
But
I thought though that the match could have been just as good if they would have just been in their regular wrestling gear.
I honestly think it may have improved it some, but it is what it is,
It
man.
might.
If they got some sponsorship money for this, I don't consider it near as much of a situation as if they had.
No, no, no.
Or
I remember Excalibur saying that
yeah,
Space Jam Legacy on HBO Max currently.
yeah, which is fine. I just didn't catch that, so that's cool.
So
Um, all right, so the next match that we had up here, I think the announcement came after this, but the next match that we had up, and I loved this match, was FTR versus Santana and Ortiz,
yes,
and you had Tully Blanchard and Conan on the outside.
I forgot Conan was back in AEW, and
Yeah,
that was awesome to see him. I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot that he, came back and everything like that." Like that's awesome. I'm a,
yeah. I mean,
I've always been a fan of Conan, man.
me too. I was like, damn, dude, if he had come out in his like Wolfpack shit, like, can you imagine? I mean, he got a huge pop anyway, but can you imagine?
Oh
Uh,
God.
Although I'm pretty sure he would have got sued because I'm pretty sure like Vince owns every version of that ever existed. So you know,
Yeah.
um, oh well. This match was great. This was maybe my favorite FTR match since they moved to AEW.
This one was a good one. Unfortunately, Dax, I think, uh,
Yeah,
suffered an injury.
yeah, I think so. I haven't read up on it really. There was a botch earlier in the match that looked like it was pretty rough. They were trying to do like a leapfrog spot, and it
Mhm.
didn't quite work. And yeah, it was what it was. But I mean, it didn't look bad, and I don't think that's where the injury came from.
I don't know
So
if it's where it was either, but I mean,
yeah, but that just was something that stood out to me that took me kind of out of it. But the energy in this match, the way that they actually worked as faces and heels, um, it was fantastic, man. And I'm gonna tell you, like, for whatever reason, this whole show, even the opening match, just had this energy, and it may be just that the fans are back and the fans are so happy to be back. But I don't think it's just that, dude. I think that there is an excitement about this product
yes,
that just has not existed for anything in a while.
yes, it's basically with all of these rumors, but not just like these rumors about Brian and Punk and other stuff, but okay, the fact of you had Nick Gage
Yeah,
as the main event. No, like out of a million, like okay, I always thought I was like that'd be so cool if AEW brought him out or something like that, but that's not gonna happen. And then they actually go and do it.
yeah.
It just it look okay. And we might get into it a little bit later, but I'll go ahead and say this about him. Like, they're not glorifying him as a criminal. All right.
Right.
He did his time. And I think he's more than made up for that by now.
Yeah, and I mean, if WWE really liked him, then they can always get him for Money in the Bank
Yeah.
because he robbed one.
But
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think,
it did. I think everyone is true. Like, first of all, this is what everyone's been wanting for a while. You know,
yeah,
they've been wanting another wrestling product out there. They've been wanting that feeling of, not necessarily even an AEW versus WWE, but they've just been wanting that other product out there that they can go to and stuff like that. And they've been wanting other wrestling, and it's not just good for the fans and everything, but it's great for the wrestling business. I've been saying this for a while. I love the fact that AEW has this partnership with Impact. It seems like GCW now, New Japan Pro Wrestling, AAA Mexico, because now it's like talent can actually be exchanged and stuff like that. It's kind of like the old territory days, only on a grander scale, if you think about it. Am I off base on that one?
I mean, no, I don't think so. I think I think one thing that's not going to happen though. I don't think we're going to see, at least not in the current, like a lot of people are comparing it to the original WCW run, which is fine because there's a lot of similarities, right? It's on TNT. It's an upstart wrestling company. It's from a guy who's not somebody who's traditionally been in the wrestling business. There's a lot of people coming over from WWE to go there. But it's also different in a lot of ways, and Vince McMahon actually addressed it on an investor call. Um,
Mhm.
that saying that they don't look at them as competition, especially not in the way that they did with WCW. And I think that we're not going to see one of the things that, like, people who are tired of WWE but aren't really fans of AEW, and really they want, what they really want is WWE to get better. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think we're going to see this. I think there's this idea that if you can create this bubble over here, if it's big enough and good enough, then we will force WWE to be good again, like
No,
what happened in the Attitude Era.
no, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen because WWE only cares about catering to their shareholders. That's it. They don't give a single shit about their fans. Um, I actually saw someone the other day. It was on some group, and they were like, "Yeah, UFC doesn't care what the fans think, but in WWE fans, their opinion matters." And I was like, "Okay, UFC's a real fight in most of the time. We don't have to go into that." Um, and I'm like, and the notion that you think WWE cares about their fans is like, I mean, I can give you hundreds and hundreds of hours of evidence that they do not. Uh, that whole thing is just, it irks me a lot. So I don't think, I mean, until Vince McMahon is no longer running things, or unless they sell to NBC or whoever, unless something huge like that changes, I don't think we're going to see the quality of WWE go up or down based on what AEW is doing.
No, I agree. I agree completely. I just love right now the momentum that see AEW right now has a lot of momentum, and it's funny because a lot of people thought that that was going to be halted after the horrible ending to Revolution. But guess what? They've bounced back from that, haven't they?
Well, it's not so much that it was halted then. I mean, that was atrocious. I mean, we talked about it. Go watch the episode.
Yeah.
Um, they were on a slump from the day that COVID hit. And it's not entirely their fault, but it's like, I remember watching that first episode of Dynamite in the empty stadium where Jericho's like talking to like the camera drone or whatever. And I was like, oh, this got old in 5 minutes. What are we going to be doing in 6 months? And then 6 months later, oh my God, it was just unwatchable. And Dynamite got to the point where, I mean, I just turned it off. I wasn't paying attention to it. It was in the same category as Raw and SmackDown for me. Um, but now I think it's very clear that they were just kind of treading water, and I don't blame them. But now it's serious, and they are, now that the fans are there, and they can build like a nice tight, live production television show. They've got the feel of like how to actually run a show. Because here's another thing a lot of people haven't considered, and I know we're making this not as much about the episode now as we are about AEW as a whole, but that's what happens on this podcast. We go off on wild tangents.
Of course.
Um,
We're the new Bischoffs.
right, exactly. That's a huge compliment. What
Cool.
people don't understand is that when you're trying to start up a wrestling production like this, um, it is incredibly hard to find people from a production standpoint that know how to produce or shoot wrestling, because there's not really anything like it. I mean, sure, I guess if you've run production on like a boxing match or UFC or something like that, then you probably have a little bit of ideas of like, okay, the guy number one's going to come out, you got to get these shots. Guy number two is going to come out, you got to get these shots. You got to get these shots in the fight. You got to be positioned here around the ring, whatever. That would help, but for the most part, there's no experience that really prepares you to shoot professional wrestling. And so it's very, very hard to get people on a mass scale like this who have experience doing that. I would imagine that they went probably to the indies, to like the bigger indie promotions for a lot of this stuff. And that's why WWE has the Performance Center, and why they train so many of their people in house, because they're training them to be WWE employees and do what WWE does. It's not like you can go to school for that somewhere.
Right.
You can go to school and learn how to operate a camera and how to light a scene and how to shoot a scene, but you can't learn how to shoot wrestling necessarily. And
Exactly.
and that's just one job. I mean, you got to talk about all the production people. Trying to put the show together when you have when you're filming a live product. I mean, there's other sports that do that necessarily, but like, you know, like the NBA isn't going to commercial during the finals and like, oh God, we have to stop the game right here. It's not like they're slotting, 7 to 25 minute wrestling matches in between commercial breaks and promos and all of that. Um, so it's all got to be very tight. Um, it's just a different thing, man. And so I think a lot of the people that they hired at the beginning to sort of do all these backstage roles you don't see on screen, I think those people are probably it probably took them a year to get a hold of it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and especially on top of that, you're in the middle of a pandemic, you know,
Right.
so everything is just, like, again, we didn't know what worked, we didn't know what did work or what didn't work, and stuff like that. But I think now they're really starting to see who's over, and I think that the stories are getting better and everything like that. And I'm generally excited about the product, and you'll see it as we go along because right after that, I believe isn't it? It was the announcement, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much telling us that this is happening
Yes.
by having this event be called the First Dance and have it be in Chicago.
But is it not brilliant in a way? Because look, you're driving up ticket sales, not ticket sales, but you're
Well,
driving.
that too,
Well, you are driving up ticket sales, and trust me, that show will sell out. And
probably instantly.
oh, obviously, but here's the thing: you're also driving up pay per view buys for All Out because I guarantee you, it's going to be one of the biggest buys in 20 years of pro wrestling.
I think that I think that All Out, as long as they don't bring, well, if they bring Punk out before All Out, then at least that needs to be his first match. Um, yeah, I think that I think at a minimum they pass every AEW pay per view record.
Oh, well, here's the thing. I believe that they will bring him at All Out. And here's the thing, while everyone is expecting it, you still want to see it.
Right.
You
It
don't
will.
know if you're going to see it. You think you're going to see it, but you don't know if you're going to see it. They're playing with us,
You
kind of thing.
you've seen all of season 2 of The Mandalorian, right?
I love it.
Right. So Luke Skywalker comes out at the end.
Yes.
And they have an episode 3 episodes before that where Grogu is communicating with a powerful Jedi in the universe, and
Yes.
there's only one guy in this time period that could be, and you're like, well, well, certainly they're not, they didn't get him. Yeah, they can't be. They're not gonna get him. And then you're like, wait, is that an X-wing? But then when you see the X-wing come in, you're still not 100% sure. You're like, well, that's got to be him, but you're still not 100% sure until you see the glove and he's the way he's fighting and the lightsaber, and then he pulls the hood back. I mean, it's like you 100% thought that that's what you were gonna get, but you still were 100% shocked that you got it. And see, they can do a similar thing with CM Punk here.
Oh yeah, obviously. Here's how I would do it. I would have, and I don't know if he would interrupt someone or whatnot, or if you just think that the pay per view is about to go off the air, but then the lights dim, and the crowd is going nuts. They're like, what's about to happen? And then all you hear is da-dan, da-dan, da-dan. you know, the Living Color song, and then the crowd goes nuts because they know who's coming out. And then it plays, and then he walks out to the ring. Then he grabs the microphone, right? And he's soaking in the crowd. Obviously, the crowd's losing their mind. And then I would have him about to speak, and then the lights go out, and then you hear the final countdown for Bryan Danielson.
See, I actually think, um, I don't think they're going to do that. I think that
I don't think
given
so.
given what was on this event tonight, I think we're going to get Darby Allin and CM Punk first.
Well, I think that's what's going to happen first. Which
I'm all here for it.
it's going to be tremendous because Darby Allin is one of the most over people in wrestling right now and in AEW. And
And Punk has specifically said in the past that he wants to work with Darby Allin.
I was going to say that I have heard him in interviews say that he wants to work with like people like Darby Allin and stuff. He wants to work with Kenny Omega as well. He wants to work with I can't remember who all he said, but he said Jungle Boy. He wants to work with Jungle Boy as well.
That would be great. Jungle Boy is fantastic, dude.
Uh, and that was very obvious in that tag match.
Yeah, I agree.
And so
Um,
Luchasaurus.
so well, before we get to that though, we are missing. So we have the IWGP match, which was weird. It's weird to say that, but we got Lance Archer. And is it Hikuleo? Is that Hikuleo?
Hikuleo, yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
With King Haku, with his dad, which was awesome, and the crowd went nuts for.
That was awesome. That
Yeah.
dude is still a badass even at his age.
You know, I really like Lance Archer, man. You know, a lot of people have, everybody has come in and said, this guy's the next Undertaker, and they've always referred to, you know, they've said it about everybody. They said it about Mordecai's dumbass when he was on for like 2 weeks. they they said it about what's his name? Well, they people have definitely said it about Tommy End. What's his new name? Malachi Black.
Black.
People have definitely said it about him, and I think he's going to be something, you know, of his own. You know,
Oh, yeah.
He's not the next Undertaker. But if you take a guy and look at like what they can do athletically versus their size and their ability to sort of get it in the business, I think that the best comparison right now is Lance Archer. And it's not to say that you gotta be compared to somebody, but I you know, I mean it as a huge compliment that it's genuinely enjoyable to watch him work.
Yeah, I like Lance Archer a lot, but you know what was what was more interesting about that was the fact that we saw Hiroshi Tanahashi before this on an interview on Dynamite, and he's saying that he wants to challenge the winner of that matchup, and then Moxley said that he wants Hiroshi. He's been wanting him. So that match could happen at All Out.
See, I think this whole thing is way too meta for the general audience. And I think that that's evident by the fact that the live crowd did not really seem to pop very much for the Tanahashi reveal.
Well, they didn't have the crowd playing. They just had his name. They just had him. They didn't have the crowd in it.
I think they did, man. I think they were just quiet because, like, all the other backstage segments, you could hear the live crowd react.
Well, yeah.
So I really think that I think there's a lot of people just like, I don't know who this guy is. If you don't follow New Japan, then you don't know who he is. I know who he is, and I'm excited for the match. I think the whole promo about the Forbidden Door and all that shit, I think that it's way too like dirt sheet, way too meta, way too like internet wrestling community. And I mean, it's fine to do things to appeal to those people because hell, I'm one of those people. You know, I just don't. I just also know that there's a certain significant portion of your audience that are just gonna be like, "What the fuck is going on?" Now, when they see Tanahashi work, okay, then that's gonna be different because then they're gonna want him all the time. So you better be able to get him all the time. or at least again, you know.
Well, who knows? We'll see, man. But um, I don't know. I when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's awesome, and stuff like that. And the IWGP US Championship belt for New Japan is kind of like I'm not comparing the two. I'm just kind of saying that they're kind of similar in the fact of they travel, which is the NWA title. It,
Right.
it's kind of like that. Like, but that belt is defended basically only between Americans or people who wrestle in America,
Right, of course.
which I mean I like in New Japan. I've always liked New Japan's model when it comes to pro wrestling.
You know, I just realized if we had had Jake Roberts on this episode, we would have had almost every living person left from Dark Side of the Ring season 3. Because we got Pillman Jr. on here. We had Nick Gage. Like, uh, anyway. Uh, let's get into the 6-man tag. I thought this was good. I kind of, I gotta be honest, man. I'm not a huge Matt Hardy fan, but I like him in this role that he's in.
Mhm.
I like the purple suit. I think it works. I think it's a nice touch. It is. Um, I loved Christian Cage's reaction when he came out, but I mean, you can't get over the Jungle Boy reaction.
No, but real quick, how cool was it to hear Christian Cage's original TNA theme?
I like it, but I wish it was the actual song.
Well, I mean that's pretty much though what he had.
Well, no, eventually they actually got the license for the Evanescence track, though.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
so like
Either
he was singing in it.
no, well, maybe they didn't have. I want to say, and I don't remember 100%, but I want to say that they actually have a version where it's the band. It's just the band. Because the version he comes out here to is here out to an AEW, and the original in TNA is an instrumental. But
Okay.
the version I like actually has the actual band in it.
See, this one sounded like it had the actual band.
Maybe it did. Maybe I just need to go watch it again on the TV.
Like I literally heard it and was just like, that's like that was straight out of TNA.
Well, he had both themes in TNA
Yeah.
at different times, so maybe the band is in this one. But if so, I didn't hear it. But I didn't my TV wasn't like blaring when I watched this anyway. So
Okay.
maybe I just didn't catch it. But I mean, damn it, man, Jungle Boy is over.
Oh God.
And I mean, it's Luchasaurus to an extent. It's not Marco Stunt at all, but it's definitely Jungle Boy.
Oh yeah.
They like Luchasaurus too. I have no idea why why Marco Stunt is employed.
Well, I mean, he's legit friends with those guys, so like they kind of want him, I guess. In the
I get it, man, but I mean, shit, I'm friends with a lot of people. I don't bring them to work with me.
yeah,
You know, I can't go to my boss and be like, "Hey, man, Caleb Stovall's a good buddy of mine. Can you just put him on the payroll and we can just hang out and shit?" I mean, that would be great, but
true.
I don't know what he's doing there. I don't know what the hell he's doing there. Uh, I don't want to skip over the Brian Cage and Ricky Starks segment.
Uh huh.
I thought the Ricky Starks promo was weak.
Very.
Uh, it was like he didn't know where he was going. He was like lost. It was just there were times where it felt like he was trying to act like The Rock,
Yep.
and it wasn't working. Like it, and the people in the crowd were just kind of like, "We like you, but shut up," you
Yeah.
know.
Like I could tell that the crowd was getting restless. I was like, oof, this is bad. Which is why they probably hit that music when they did.
Dude, I mean, say what you want, but it's Charlotte, North Carolina. They know a bad wrestling promo and a good wrestling promo when they see it.
Yep.
You can't pull that shit. And here's the thing: I've seen him on the mic before, and he wasn't terrible. I don't know what the hell he. I don't know if he just had a bad day, nervous, whatever.
Probably.
Oof. I mean, we've talked about this before, right? When you don't script things for people, you have the opportunity for these amazing things to happen, and you have an opportunity for terrible things to happen.
Yeah.
If you do what WWE does, and you write every single word for every single person, you take both ends of that spectrum and you squeeze it in real tight, so you've got very little variation in what could happen. It
Yeah.
can only go so wrong, but it also can only go so right.
Right.
And I gotta say, man, I think loud and clear people are preferring the AEW method. If
Yeah.
you can't cut a damn promo and you suck, then well, you just went out there and sucked, and well, I mean that's kind of what happened here. Um, it was interesting, but the reason I really wanted to bring this segment up is, did you see who was on the drums?
Um, I can't remember.
You missed it, but it was Timmy Lou.
That's what I thought. I was like, that guy looks familiar for some reason. Please tell me he was the guy that got the drum pushed over.
He was, yeah,
Yes!
that was Timmy. Yeah, yeah,
That
it was
was
fantastic.
tremendous, dude. When he put that drum over his head, I was like, oh, that's tremendous.
Yeah, yeah. When I saw him out there, I was like, oh my god! I was like, that's Timmy. And then the camera, they put it right on him, and then they hit him with the drum. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, Moving right along, we got the semi-main, man. How about that Thunder Rosa reaction?
I was about to say, dude, now she's officially AEW. And dude, oh my God, that was a huge reaction.
She's so good.
Dude, I'm sorry, and I hope I'm not in the wrong for saying this, but she's so hot. Like, she is so hot and she's so good in the ring, dude. Like, she just has it. And she has the walking badass method. Like, you don't have to try to put that on her. She just is a badass.
Yeah, I agree, man. She is a star.
Yes.
Absolutely a star. Um, just wow. I mean, just that's all I gotta say is wow. I
Well,
mean,
but you also have to give credit because Britt Baker got a pretty good reaction for
I
her
agree.
promo.
I agree. Yeah. Um, was not impressed with Julia Hart here. It kind of seemed like maybe this was just a squash match, and that's kind of what it was.
It was a little warm up before the main event, pretty much.
But I was happy to see AEW do that, because the AEW that I shit on all the time would have had them go 15 minutes. And then it would have made these two people, that it would have made Julia Hart and Thunder Rosa look like they're on the same playing field. And they're not.
Yeah, this didn't at all look like they were on the same playing field.
No, not at all. And she should be happy that Thunder Rosa is a damn professional, because she kept her from horribly botching the finish.
Yes.
Yeah. Thunder knew it was fucked, and she was like, "Oh God, I gotta tuck you over here." I mean, it was a nice recovery, because somebody could have gotten hurt.
Yes.
But
Yes.
this was perfect. This whole thing was perfect.
Yes, it was.
Um,
Here we go.
yeah, yeah. Should we get the bad stuff out first? Like, and that way we can just, we can end this on a really great note.
Okay.
Um, Nick Gage is not a star. He was a small fish in a very large, very, very large bucket here, and it showed. I thought that, I mean, this may be the biggest crowd Nick Gage ever been in front of.
Well, yeah, a game changer wrestling doesn't. I mean, they
I
have
mean,
big crowds for their
right,
audience, I
right,
guess.
right. And I, I'm not saying it would be any different if they called me up and were like, "Hey, we want you to manage so and so." I would be like, "All right," and I probably would look like that too. But I'm just saying, like, at no point, like, I was paying a lot of attention throughout this whole thing, and Jericho comes out, and it sucks for him that he's out there with Jericho, right? Because you have Jericho come out, and he just is.
Yeah.
He is Chris Jericho. He is a showman. He is an
Yes.
entertainer. He's the front man for a international rock band. He's Chris fucking Jericho,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he just is, and he just has this presence about him. And one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about wrestling is just how important that is, the concept of presence. And you can only affect it so much. For the most part, you have it or you don't. You know how to. You can go out there and you can act certain ways to enhance it or cover up the fact that you don't have presence. But for the most part, you either got it or you don't.
Right.
And Jericho just has it. He just
Yeah.
is. When Nick Gage came out there, I mean, and don't get me wrong, like,
I thought he got a pretty good pop.
he got a decent reaction, and he is who he is. I mean, here's the thing about this is brilliant, right? It's timed very well with the Dark Side of the Ring episode, because otherwise no one would have known who he was.
Right.
But the thing that's dangerous about Nick Gage is you know that he's seriously this incredibly deranged, tough fucking person.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't have to look like a star when he comes out there. But he absolutely didn't. And Jericho 100% led him through this match.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell. I mean, there's that spot on the outside where Jericho's got him in the headlock, and you can just pretty much see Jericho be like, all right, man, come on, push me into the damn ring post. You know, and it really looked like you brought a guy straight out of the indies and put him into a match with Chris Jericho, and that's kind of what actually happened. But
Yeah.
I got to give it to Jericho here.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do, but I couldn't help it, man. I just was in awe. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, Nick Gage is literally wrestling Chris Jericho on AEW right now. Like it was a surreal moment to me.
It was, and here's the thing, man. I've not been impressed with Jericho as of late, probably in a while. Shit.
Yeah, you had to be.
He was the man in this match. Because he went out there and he had a fucking death match with Nick Gage.
Yeah. And here's the thing, it worked so well with the story that they're telling right now.
And it made sense. It's probably the best match Nick Gage has ever had by like a million miles.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I could tell that. I was gonna say though, I was gonna make the joke. Is it now like that? Is that now like MJF's gimmick where like you have to go through like these stages or something to fight him?
Yeah, because he did it with Cody, and
Yes.
yeah. I mean, you have to go through the hoops, and it's a good gimmick. It's a nice thing. I just hope that Omega and Moxley were on the other side of that curtain when they went back, and they were like, "That's how you have a death match, bitches," because they blew that shit they tried to do out of the water.
But here's the thing, too, right? I've seen some people online talking about the death match thing that they basically had, and I was just like, why is anybody shocked? You knew that was what was going to happen. That was the whole point. Although I have heard that there was this little funny spot, which I didn't notice it, and I didn't really even put two and two together. But apparently, they had Nick Gage use the pizza cutter on Jericho, and then right afterwards, a Papa John's pizza
It was Domino's. It was
or
Domino's.
yeah, Domino's came up, and apparently Domino's wasn't too happy about that.
Dude, it was so funny because they actually had a picture in picture at the exact moment.
Yeah.
And so it was really funny because like you have the Domino's guy show up with the pizza, and this is happening as Gage has Jericho on the ropes and he's sawing the pizza cutter across his head. And then at the end of the commercial, the guy pulls up the app and it's like pizza's free. And at that exact moment, Nick Gage has got the bloody pizza cutter and he's like, you know, it was so funny. And yeah, Domino's was just like, come on, man. But the time, that's genius.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, the timing on that's amazing. Yeah, man. All in all, this match fantastic, and MJF is just—he's so good on the mic. How about that announcement at the end?
Oh my God, an old WCW rivalry renewed.
Yeah. So when I first heard about this, I unfortunately had this spoiled for me before I watched on the episode. But I remembered, I loved the previous segment they had where he was like, "Who's Hoovy?" And he was just like, "Google it." And then I was like, "Oh my god, this was a setup for this." And then he's like, "I did Google it, and then my first thing that my mind did was went, "Don't you mean Guaffy Juice Guerrera?" Um, because that's what he called him. I mean, but that's what he called him in the battle royal where when he announced everyone out. Uh, that's immediately where my mind went because that's one of my favorite like segments of all time.
Yes.
Um, that whole thing was just great. Where he comes out and he's announcing everybody for the battle royal, and then Dean Malenko's dressed as Cyclope, and he beats
Yes.
him and what. That's
Yes.
that shit is gold.
Oh, it was.
Whoever fucking booked that, like oh my god, it's so good.
Oh yeah, yeah. I agree completely. Here's the thing about MJF. I'm gonna say this. I don't think there should ever be a scenario where he is a face. He will forever be a heel in like that's the way it needs to stay.
Yeah, agreed. He's always got to be there. Absolutely.
Yes.
Um,
I loved, by the way, on commentary, I loved it when like his music hits and JR just goes, "Hey, I warned you guys." Like
it's true.
I loved it. I loved every single minute of it, dude. This was great. Like this reunited my love for pro wrestling again. I needed this episode to be that good.
And I gotta watch the Hoovy match. I gotta.
I gotta watch it too. Dude, I'm gonna be following them up, up until Rampage and everything like that. Like, I'm gonna be following everything because I am generally excited now about what is happening. I'm like, I want to know what's gonna happen next. And we haven't even talked about the Malachi Black and Cody Rhodes segment.
Which was fantastic. I really love that they threw that in.
It
I
was, but did you notice something that I noticed? Malachi Black seemed like the face in that because the crowd cheered his ass and they booed Cody.
well, Cody has sort of um Cody has ruined his image a lot, man. He really has.
Yes.
And it's going to be hard to recover. And I think that they want to cheer for Malachi Black. So it's going to be hard, man. And if that's not if their intent isn't to make Cody kind of be the heel here, then that's the direction their crowd's going to force him in. Because like Cody, man, they just really ruined him. I think. So yeah, we'll see. It's not like he can't recover from it. He's a star,
Oh yeah.
but I mean, I think a heel run is in the cards for him.
I
I
think
like
he needs
how
to have
the
a heel run in general.
yeah, I like how in Gorilla, they had the little tags over the seats,
Yeah.
and it was uh, uh, EVP, producer Tony.
Yeah. Exactly. And you didn't even see Tony.
Right. Well, you did. You kind of saw him a little bit.
Oh, I didn't see him. I don't.
Yeah, he was there. He was the last guy. Tony Khan was sitting there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Um, but
I love Malachi Black, by the way.
I saw a tweet and it said having Nick Gage on Dynamite is actually less risky than having Juventud Guerrera on there.
What?
And I was like, that's probably correct to an extent. Dude, Hoovy's crazy. Like,
Oh,
but I think him and Jericho are going to watch them throw it the fuck down.
well, first of all, they're comfortable with each other. You know that.
Duh.
And here's the thing: a lot of people don't realize. Like, I wouldn't have been concerned for Jericho with Nick Gage because if Nick Gage would have tried anything, Jericho will fuck you up.
Right.
Jericho's from. I mean, while Jericho, in years has come more to the entertainment, the funny stuff, ha ha, or whatnot. He's also trained in that old school way as well.
Right.
And I mean, let's face it, he took on Brock Lesnar and Goldberg.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he does not give a shit, dude. He will fight Brock Lesnar or Goldberg in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And speaking of which, before we, sign off and everything, all right. Speaking of rumors, apparently there was a leak earlier. I don't know if it was a leak or if this was an interview someone did, but apparently someone who is in MMA who is close to Brock Lesnar said that apparently he signed a deal with a place that was not WWE.
We'll see. I doubt New Japan wants to do business with him again. I AEW, man. I mean, I I think it's the wrong call. You could make it the right call if it was like a very short stint. Maybe you do. Maybe you have Punk and Lesnar. But I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, to me, I thought it was Bellator with what they were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it could be another fight company. I mean, it could be anything. We'll see. I don't really have a lot to say about it because
Yeah,
it's so far out there. It's so secondhand.
yeah, I agree. But what we do know, I mean, the CM Punk thing is happening now. Like, I don't care what anyone says, that's happening.
If not, it's the biggest damn hoax, work, etc. ever, and it's gonna blow up in their face. They have to deliver him now. Honestly, if they're doing and I'm not saying this is the case. If they're doing this shit and the ink is not on the paper, they are dumber than I've ever like criticized them of being.
No, I'm pretty sure the ink is on.
Oh, I am too. I'm like 99% positive. I would be shocked if they didn't have him.
Yeah, I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have taken the time to show the crowd chanting CM Punk and then make all of these references.
Right.
Because here was the thing: they've had rumors every year that they've gone to all out in Chicago. Anytime they go to Chicago, there's rumors that CM Punk is going to be there, and they never mentioned anything about it. They never even draw comparisons. They never have any innuendos or anything. This time, it's clear. Like, why would you take, because I was wondering this. I thought All Out, why is it not held at the United Center? I thought that they sold themselves short. And then look at this. They're doing Rampage a week after All Out in Chicago, which clearly means CM Punk is going to end that Rampage.
I think so. Yeah.
And here's the thing: he might not even wrestle. That might just be where he says something, which is all he needs to do.
We'll see. We'll see. I know that everybody's going to watch All Out.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Obviously, I'm gonna actually watch this live. I'm not gonna wait till the next day. I'll even watch it going into work.
Yeah, same. I same. Yeah. On another note, they are playing SummerSlam in theaters, and I am considering going to see that. Just because I think it would be cool.
Another road trip.
Well, I mean, you probably have to work. It's on a Sunday, or no, it's on a Saturday. Yeah, because they're doing SummerSlam on a damn Saturday this year, which is so weird. But
well, I mean, I could ask off for it.
Yeah, man. We'll talk about it off mic, sure. Speaking of, we actually have a nice little break coming up, everybody. So we're gonna take 2 weeks off after this. There's a lot going on. Viral Pro Wrestling has our biggest show of the year that's coming up. So all hands are kind of on deck for that. Yep. We have a ton of things that are kind of in the works. And I'm going to be all cylinders on that for the next couple of weeks. That, and we have just been going solid for a while. I think this is episode 19 of season 3, and that is a lot.
Yes.
So we're going to take a 2-week break. We're going to come back after that, and we're going to come in strong with a bunch of stuff. We have a lot of material. We have episodes we have promised to do. So we're gonna get right on that. I am very hyped for the top 10 sins of Vince McMahon. But hey, he may add a few in the next couple of weeks. So you never know. I just hope he doesn't die before then, because then I really don't want to do the episode.
No,
So yeah, keep that heart pumping, Vince, until at least we can get the episode out, so it's not in bad taste. Uh,
it seems like he's fine.
yeah, he probably is. He's still going to the gym at 4 a.m. or whatever. Um, so that being said, man, thanks for joining me for this. I think we picked the perfect episode to actually delve into one of the weekly shows and break it down.
Yeah, I know, and it's the first time ever I've not heard you completely shit on AEW.
I mean, because it was a damn good show, and that's actually not true because
Oh.
I did not do it when we went to see them in Atlanta either.
Yeah, but we didn't review that one.
Oh, you mean like on an actual episode? Yeah,
Yes.
probably because everything we've reviewed has been just different degrees of bad. I mean, I think. I mean, it's been like, here's good things here and there, but then this sucked. Here was 30 minutes of a garbage match. I mean, I just, I think that I'm going to call it like I see it, like I always do. And I thought that this episode was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it when I was watching it. I was like, this is amazing.
When I talk about them wanting to get their shit together, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I want. This is their shit being together. They've wrapped it up nicely, just duct taped, and this is it. Um, yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, you know
You
what?
know,
Obviously they did because you're gonna watch again next week.
I am, and that's the whole damn point.
Yeah, I am too. I'm gonna watch again. I'm all in.
I see what you did there. Well, on that note, um, yeah, definitely. Thanks for joining me, man. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna take 2 weeks off, everybody. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll see you then. And this has been an Evolved Review.